So, some things have happened. Welcome to a week or so in Ember, where I go over about the last week or so of things that have happened in the Ember community, and give updates on how features of the framework are progressing, as well as updates on tooling and community libraries. First up is the Ember community survey, just wanting to know information about who's using Ember and how. If you start the survey, there's a number of demographic questions and questions about sentiment. The survey is not very long. You can see the progress here at the top. Each page is just a couple questions, and we're just wanting to know where you're at in your Ember journey and how up-to-date your projects are and kind of how you feel about the state of those projects. There are 9 Discord events this week. All these times are Eastern time, but starting tomorrow at 10, we have the Embroider Triage, where we go through issues and PRs and see if we can reproduce them or fix them real quick, etc. Also tomorrow at 11:15 is the Ember Learning Team meeting. All core team meetings are open to the public, so if you want to join, get your issues looked at, this is a great time to show up. Also, the Polaris Shepherding meeting, where we discuss what blockers, if any, or where people need help with getting Polaris ready for shipping. And then Tuesday is the Tooling Team weekly meeting. Then Wednesday is an RFC review. There's 2 of these. One for a more Europe-appropriate time, and the other is Friday, which is more for the folks in the United States, or in related time zones. Then Thursday, we have the Ember.js website redesign meeting. Also the spec meeting. This is where we discuss different features and different design constraints for things going into the framework. And on Friday is the Ember data meeting. 4 related RFCs went into final comment period this past week. They are for making on built-in, FN built-in, hash, and array built-in. So what this means is that in strict mode, when you're using GJS or GTS, you're not going to need to import them. So right now, we need to import on, FN, hash, and array if we want to use them at all in our GJS or GTS templates. But that's kind of annoying because on, FN, hash, and array are like kind of core primitives for any language. Like JavaScript has native objects and arrays, so why shouldn't our templating language? So when all these RFCs are implemented, it means we can delete these 2 imports, and this component will just keep working. We have 1 RFC for Ember data that is in final comment period from Runspired. It deprecates the fact that the store extends the Ember object. Now, the Ember object allowed you to do class-like behavior pre-ES6, but it's a long time since we've had native classes now, so this is a good change to see. Okay, also from Runspired is a set of new features associated around the schema service. In the summary, he says, this is going to upgrade the schema service API to improve DX and support new features. It'll deprecate many APIs associated to the existing schema service. So the existing schema service today is primarily a way to rationalize the schema information contained on models. However, as we experimented with Ember M3, GraphQL, model fragments, and base improvements to models, we've come to realize that this information is both feature incomplete and more wieldly than required. So while building Schema Record, we've iterated on these APIs and the associated schemas to gain confidence in a redesign. This is that redesign. So there's a lot of details here, and this is quite involved. If you're using Ember data and would like to know more, check out PR 1027. The Ember browser support policy has updated. It's not going to update until the next major, but we have a note here that says, as part of this RFC, at version 6 of Ember, which is the next major, Safari will be considered evergreen. So the minimum supported Safari version will change based on the above formula described here. And there's a link to stat counter, and we also use browsers list to do these calculations. So this means that Ember is going to probably drop support for very old versions of Safari. Thanks to Corridoras, Helix now has support for GJS and GTS. This is fantastic. Helix is a modal-based editor, kind of similar to Vim or NeoVim. But it's written in Rust, so it's probably good. If you're on ember-template-imports at v3 and have been holding off on upgrading to ember-template-imports at v4 due to the ecosystem bugs or just weird kind of behaviors that made the upgrade not so smooth, everything's been resolved now. So Glint uses content tag. You'll need the latest of each of the Babel plugin Ember template compilation, Ember CLI HTML bars, Ember CLI Babel, and all of the embroider or auto import dependencies if you're using those. ESLint plugin Ember has released version 12.1. This upgrades the parser for GJS and GTS, as well as includes some TS ESLint rules for GTS. And also there's a fix for no array prototype extensions. So this is my own eslint-configs library. I released version 4 not too long ago, and it has built-in support for GJS and GTS now. So when you're configuring ESLint for your project, all you need to do is this. No need to worry about parsers, settings, plugins. You can do your whole config in one line. And if you want to customize it, you can with overrides. Ember Primitives version 17 has been released. So this includes active on subpaths for the link component. So what this means is it gives your links an ability to differentiate between URLs that end like this or like this. If you want to know more about how it works, I encourage you to read the PR 312. Linking can be kind of nuanced, and it'd be probably better if you're interested in this to kind of read the test behavior and how it's working. Additionally, there's a new form utility, data from event. Data from event is a utility function for extracting the form data as an object from the native form element, allowing more ergonomic usage of the platform's default form or fields usage. So as an example, I have this form here. We can submit it. This is the data in the form. And the code for this is here. We import data from event, and we pass the submit event to data from event, and that's it. So this form right here is plain HTML. There's no JavaScript whatsoever in this form except for the onSubmit binding. Ember-composable-helpers. So this library used to be provided by Dockyard, but they've kind of stopped maintaining things. So I forked it, and I kind of figured out how to alias the original package for the new one. So if you have Ember-composable-helpers in your dependency graph and you want to swap it out for a V2 add-on, you can do that right now. If you run into any issues, let me know. I'm sure I've missed something, but the whole goal of this is to contain all of the bug fixes and everything that we want to add to Ember-composable-helpers that we couldn't do upstream. I maintain my libraries. Okay, so that's everything for the past week or so in Ember. I'll catch you next time with some more Ember news.